Hey everyone, I am Gracie Uchley, and today I will be giving a presentation on my research paper that discusses uncertainty management and attachment theory within interpersonal relationships. So, first, to understand what uncertainty is, we all know that it is an inevitable experience. If you are human, you will experience uncertainty, especially within relationships at some point in your life. It can appear in work situations, family, and romantic partnerships. But to define it, uncertainty is a feeling of doubt or ambiguity, which can be a factor in interpersonal communication. There are two different types of uncertainty. One is cognitive, which deals with uncertainty within your own thoughts, and the other is behavioral, which deals with uncertainty or ambiguity in actions of your own or the actions of other people. Some sources of uncertainty and some management strategies to overcome them can look like competing relationships, like deception or even ghosting. If you're in a relationship with someone and they suddenly cease all communication with no explanation as to why, that is considered ghosting. And especially with the modern increase in technology and social media use, ghosting seems to be a more common trend within interpersonal uncertainty, and it's something that people experience a lot. There are strategies to help manage uncertainty. The first one is called interactive strategies. These are the most direct confrontational strategies to tackle uncertainty, and they usually look like asking direct questions to the person in the relationship that may be causing uncertainty. So these are more upfront. The next type of strategy is an active strategy. These are a little more indirect, and they usually rely on third-party information to manage uncertainty. This can look like asking a friend who maybe knows your partner that is causing you uncertainty, and asking this friend if they have any idea why your partner is acting a certain way. Lastly, there are passive strategies, and these are the most indirect ways to manage uncertainty. They usually involve simple observations or online monitoring, like looking at someone's social media pages or Googling them. To overview attachment styles, there are 4 different kinds that everyone can classify themselves in. You can either be a secure attachment, which means your caregiver from childhood was consistent and that you also carry a positive view of both yourself and of others. The next type of attachment style that we find is the anxious ambivalent. So this is typically just known as the anxious attachment style. And this is when someone has had an inconsistent caregiver from childhood. Maybe this caregiver was a little bit distant and didn't show consistent and solid attention to you as an infant. This would also mean that you have a negative view of yourself, but a positive view of others. Next, we have dismissive avoidant, which is one type of avoidance attachment styles. This person typically had an unresponsive caregiver, maybe a caregiver that kept this person at a very strong distance within childhood. Dismissive avoidants typically have a positive view of themselves, but a negative view of other people. And lastly, we have the fearful avoidant, the second type of avoidant attachment style. This person typically had a fully rejecting caregiver, and they also have a negative view of themselves and other people as well. So to expand this paper from a literature review to a research paper, I dove deeper into the details of attachment styles and how they come about. So I read the novel called Attached, which is written by Amir Levine and Rachel Helen. And in this book, they dive extremely deep into the formation of attachment styles, how each style comes to be, how each style manages romantic partnerships specifically, And they give practical advice at the end of the book on how each attachment style can participate in healthy and clear communication in order to better their romantic partnerships. So from this book, I learned about the 4 different attachment styles and their levels of anxiety and avoidance. So we know that there are 2 different types of avoidant attachment styles, but avoidance can be present in anyone no matter what their attachment style is. For example, someone who is secure in their attachment will have low anxiety in their attachment and low avoidance as well. And in the book entitled Attached, the authors explain that when romantic partnerships come into play, people's attachment styles are deeply triggered. So when you have a secure attachment and a romantic partnership begins to form between you and another person, your levels of anxiety stay very low, and your levels of avoidance or fear of commitment, we'll say, are also very low. If you have an anxious attachment style, your levels of anxiety become very high when connection starts brewing, but your level of avoidance is low, which means you want a strong connection with this romantic partner. If you are in avoidant attachment, you typically have low anxiety within romantic relationships, but your levels of avoidance are very high, meaning that strong connection and intimacy may strike fear within you and you try to avoid it at all costs. And lastly, for someone who is the anxious avoidant or the avoidant ambivalent, like we said previously, your levels of anxiety are high when closeness occurs, but your levels of avoidance are also high, meaning that closeness and intimacy can be a fearful factor for you. So it increases both your anxiety and your avoidant tendency to stay away. So uncertainty in romantic relationships. These are how levels of uncertainty look based on attachment style. So in my research, I was able to draw conclusions between how each attachment style manages uncertainty within their lives, and in this case, specifically romantic relationships. So the secure attachment style typically has the lowest level of uncertainty within their relationships. The fearful avoidant in my research was found to have no direct correlation with anxiety in their relationships. Uncertainty, excuse me. So uncertainty was neither very high nor very low in fearful avoidant relationships. For dismissive avoidant attachment styles, they had higher uncertainty within their relationships. And lastly, the anxious attachment had the highest level of partner or relationship uncertainty within their romantic connections. So there is a connection between anxiety and uncertainty. So we see on the far left, the dark orange column is the secure attachment. And this chart shows us that they have the lowest level of uncertainty. And next we have the avoidant attachment, and then the anxious avoidant, and then lastly the anxious. So this is just a bar graph chart based on the information that we had in the last slide. Next, for technology and social media impact, I wanted to try to explore how social media plays a factor in uncertainty management with the attachment styles, because sometimes technology and social media can be a strong root cause of uncertainty, but then sometimes it can help us to not only manage uncertainty, but to dissipate it altogether. So the secure attachment style tended to use social media and technology for positive reasons and personal growth. So they did not find that technology and social media increased uncertainty in their relationships. The anxious attachment style used social media as a self-preservation tool or as a tool to cater their image a little bit more to their liking. And they also used it for intimacy with less risk of rejection. So the anxious attachment style saw social media and technology use as a way to preserve and create intimacy within their relationships at a lower rejection cost. And lastly, the avoidant attachment style was less likely to use social media and technology altogether, but whenever they did use it, it was typically out of response to relieve loneliness. So some conclusions that I drew within my research of social media and attachment style is that the secure attachment enjoys social media the most, and they are able to communicate most effectively through it. The anxious attachment style found comfort in social media use as it typically reduced uncertainty for them. The avoidant attachment saw less benefit of social media altogether, and it tended to trigger unhealthy patterns within social media use for them. And lastly, all circumstances are different. While we can draw patterns and conclusions of how the different attachment styles use social media to reduce uncertainty, all situations and scenarios are different for all people, and they may not be so black and white as what my research may suggest. So to predict uncertainty management, we can see from my research findings that the secure attachment style is most likely to take interactive uncertainty management strategies, meaning they are most likely to face the uncertainty head on and deal with it directly. The anxious attachment style used more active and passive strategies out of fear of conflict and confrontation, so they want to avoid any conflict. So they're going to be a little bit more passive and observant when it comes to uncertainty management. The avoidant attachment style used mostly passive strategies altogether, and stuck solely to observation over interaction when managing uncertainty. And lastly, with the role of social media, these styles are more interactive than passive for uncertainty management, because social media can be more likely to lead to direct answers, which falls more in the interactive category than passive. So within the book Attached by Levine and Heller, they provided us with 5 different concrete ways to participate in effective communication. This book discusses all of the attachment styles, so these 5 principles of effective communication will be healthy for each different attachment. So they first say to wear your heart on your sleeve and to be honest in all communication. Next is to focus on your needs. If you identify your needs and what you need out of your partner based off of your uncertainty, you'll be able to communicate those effectively and focus on how you can get those needs met in your relationship. And with that, you must be specific about what it is you need and how it is you feel. Fourth, do not blame. Try not to blame yourself or your partner when communicating effectively and communicating your needs. This can cause conflict, and it can cause uncertainty and more questions than answers to come about within your communication patterns. And lastly, you must be assertive and non-apologetic about both how you feel and what your needs are. This can be difficult for anxious attachment styles like myself when conflict arises, because it can be anxiety-inducing, and those with anxious attachment styles tend to shut down in the face of conflict and uncertainty in relationships. But we have to remember that effective communication is the only way to bridge the gap from having needs be unmet to met, and from managing uncertainty and reducing it as much as we can. So to apply and conclude what we've learned today, first we must understand the root causes of uncertainty within our lives and the origin of our attachment styles. Next, we can decode these messages of uncertainty by understanding how the different styles interpret communication. Next, we manage uncertainty and can take different approaches that work best for us based off of our attachment style. And lastly, we must always build empathy towards others within our relationships and understand that people manage uncertainty differently, maybe based off of attachment style, but maybe not. And we must be empathetic towards all people that maybe are causing us uncertainty in our lives and understand how they may communicate with us differently. So this will help us to understand attachment theory and how it can promote healthy communication during uncertainty for everyone in their interpersonal relationships. Thank you.